Welcome back to Beyond the Bench, the podcast from Mountain States Legal Foundation, where we explore the cases, people, and principles shaping the fight for liberty in America. Today, we are joined by Alicia Garcia, a Colorado native, avid shooter, and constitutionalist. She is also the plaintiff in the case Garcia versus Polis, alongside Rocky Mountain gun owners, against a 3-day waiting period to purchase a firearm in Colorado. Furthermore, she also educates her community in concealed handgun classes, basic pistol safety, and responsible gun ownership. Alicia, it's great to have you, and thanks for joining us for a conversation.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, for those who may not know you, feel free to elaborate more on who you are, what you do, and how you've gotten to where you are today.
Okay, my name is Alicia Garcia. I am, like you said, a Colorado native. I grew up basically all over Colorado. So my family's from Trinidad. I went to school in West Denver. I went to college at University of Colorado. So I've been basically baptized in Colorado culture, right? So I'm also a defensive pistol program instructor. So I have a certification through the NRA and the USCCA. I am one of the higher level instructors with USCCA. It's called the Defensive Pistol Program. So there's about less than 100 of that certification total in the nation. I think there's only 6 women that have ever passed that program. So it's, wow. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that. I also have a concealed carry business that I teach with my business partner, Mark Snyder. The name of our company is Concealed Carry Classes of Denver. We also have the United States Firearms Training Academy, and that's the school of training that we do around the United States. So we teach concealed carry, we do renewals, defensive pistol handgun. I teach basically anything you need to know with a gun. I can do gun seer services, so preparing people for the transition of not being armed to armed, helping them, get the understanding of how to put home defense plans together, situational awareness, de-escalation, all of that stuff. I'm also the director of the Colorado Federal Firearms Licensee Association in Public Relations and Media. That was a trade association that was established about 2 to 3 years ago because of all the legislation that we were seeing coming after gun shops as well. So a good friend of mine, Sean Steele, and some other comrades that are in the gun shop industry said we need to do something about this. We need to have a way for us to collaborate and communicate and fight back together. So Sean created the CFFLA and asked me to come on as a director position to help acclimate it and get it rolling. So I did.
There's never a day off. Sounds like you're pretty busy.
It's fun.
Yeah, Sunday through Saturday. Don't call her, text her. Yeah, she might pick up.
I won't. I won't.
So before Boomstick Babe, who was Alicia Garcia growing up, and what would surprise people most?
I'm a nerd.
Really?
I'm a geek. I'm a straight up
In what
dork.
sense?
I love comic books. I've collected comic books since I was a kid. I'm a huge X-Men goofball.
Nice.
At my house, when you walk down the stairs, I have all of my comic books displayed. I'm in love with Colossus of the X-Men. If he was a real human being, I would be at home.
Hunk of a man.
I would be at home knocked up making him lunch right now if that man was real. But he's not. And that's the world that I live in. What else would people be surprised about me? I'm an extreme tomboy, super tomboy. Actually, it took one of my very close friends, who's a guy we've been friends since 4th grade, to tell me, stop looking like a dude. You need to comb your hair. You need to put some makeup on. You look awful all the time. So I was like, gosh, I guess I have to fix that. I am silly. I have a silly sense of humor. I'm always laughing. I'm always joking. I love dogs. I love my dogs. Very family oriented, but very much a loner. I am the black sheep. So I don't really blend in anywhere. I've always been kind of an outlier. I stick out. I've always questioned authority. Went to private school for the majority of my life. I love to travel. I love to be outdoors. I love to cook. I'm very much a homebody. I love to be home. So that's me. I have probably the best friends in the whole world. My biggest fan is my big brother. I think my brother thinks that I'm the coolest person on earth, which is fantastic because I think my brother's the coolest person on earth, so it works. But yeah, that's who I am.
Is there any of those that you kind of stated, whether it's family, activities, chapters in your life, that you think were the most influential on your activity in the Second Amendment?
Absolutely. My father's family, the Garcias, are from Trinidad. And I grew up in Denver. I went to private school. I went to Presentation of Our Lady Catholic. But my dad's family was very much hands-on. So literally Friday after school, my grandma and grandpa are picking me up outside from school. They drive me 4 hours to Trinidad. I'm with them all weekend. You know, Monday morning, I wake up and my grandparents are dropping me off at school. You know, so I'm long weekends, I'm in Trinidad, holidays, anything that I could be in Trinidad. I used to cry. I mean, this sounds pathetic. You probably think that I'm like 8 years old when I'm crying. I'm a teenager, okay? I'm like, why do I have to go to school in Denver? Why can't I live in Trinidad with grandma and grandpa? I just want to live with grandma and grandpa. So I grew up very much outside. My grandfather taught me how to hunt and dispatch rabbits, how to skin them, how to process them so we could have rabbit for dinner. I learned how to kill snakes. I've eaten snake. I learned how to shoot skeet and how to shoot sporting clays with my dad and my uncles outdoors on my family's, you know, land in Honey, Colorado. We grew up fishing and hunting and doing those things. So it was always being outside, always being with my family. And, you know, I'm brown. You know, my name is Alicia Garcia. So my mother is a child of 9. My father is a child of 9. So there's a lot of us. We're a gang. It's
a lot of family.
Right?
Whole lot of family.
You hang out with your family. You know, my birthday parties are in the summertime. My family's there. You know, who are you hanging out with? Your cousins or my uncles or my aunts. It was a very, very tight-knit thing. And I had the absolute blessing of having just top-tier masculinity around me all the time. My father, my brother, my uncles, my grandparents, they're really, really high-quality men. So we were always with them. So I learned how to be outside. I learned how to shoot guns. My father taught me the importance of being armed. My father would take me aside and he'd say, listen, I don't want you going outside and walking around on the farm if you're not armed. There's animals out there. You know, I don't want you outside unless you understand the importance of these things. And, you know, my father taught me how to shoot a shotgun. He taught, you know, my first gun competition I was ever in was with my father.
How old were you?
16.
16?
16,
already competing?
17.
Wow.
I was a novice. I didn't know what I was doing. But one morning, my dad was like, "Hey, by the way, we need a 4th for our shooting competition here." His friend was supposed to do it. He's like, "My friend can't make it. You're gonna do it." I was like, "Ooh," you know. So I actually did really well. I was pretty proud of myself. We placed very well. I think one of the positions that I was in, or one of the competitions I was in, I had to make 30 shots, and they came out of anywhere. It was shotgun and reloading your shotgun. And I think I made 27 out of 30 of those shots, which is pretty darn good. I was pretty proud of myself, and it kind of ticked off a lot of the guys that were there because, of course, I had no business being there. You know, I was just a girl. So my dad was like, "You better knock it out the park." And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad.
Little did they know.
I'm gonna do it."
Little did they know.
Yeah.
And now look at us.
Yeah.
Now look at you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you kind of talked about how you've built this love for hobbies at first, right? It was kind of just recreational and just having a good time, but then it was for safety, and now it's kind of developed more out of that hobby. So, like, was there a moment that you first realized firearms weren't just a hobby, but part of your identity, and who or what inspired you to take up litigation?
My dad dying, my dad passing away changed everything. I had never felt more helpless and more of an adult in one moment in my entire life. I felt like a helpless child, but I also felt that I had to take care of my dad. And when my father passed away, my uncle went to my father's house and stole all the guns and jewelry out of the house the day my father passed. And it broke my heart because it was such a sentimental thing for me. It meant so much because so much of my childhood, my adolescence, my teenage years was spent outdoors shooting guns with my dad and my grandpa. And I wanted that. I wanted that to be a legacy. I wanted to teach my brothers and sisters' kids how to shoot guns on those same guns that we learned with as a family. And it was heartbreaking for me. And I fought against it. I had to deal with my father's estate. I had to deal with all of these things, and it broke my heart. And I saw how much it broke my brother, and seeing how hard it was for my family in that time. And there's nothing that motivates me more than seeing the faces of the people that I love. I will do anything for love. I'm a true lover at heart. But everybody knows if you're a lover, you're a warrior, because you'll fight for love. And I wasn't ever going to accept defeat. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to be that broad. You know, my grandfather, Garcia, used to look at me, and he literally would call me La Reina. He would say, "You're my namesake. You're the queen. This is all yours." And when that was challenged, I had to challenge back. So I went out and was like, you know what? I could either accept the fact that all these guns are gone and be defeated, or I can just start over. And I could keep it moving. So I said, I'm going to keep it moving. And I went to a couple gun shops to go buy guns, and I was asking for very specific firearms. I wasn't going in there and say, hey, I want a blue one. You know, I was like, hey, I want the baby Glock. I want the Glock 26. I want an OD green. I want a Crimson Trace laser grip on it because I don't have one and I'm curious about that. And I was being treated like I was out of place. I was getting treated like I didn't belong, or that I had no business asking for what I was asking for. I was experiencing sexism and misogyny, and I was like, what's this all about? And what I realized is that my father protected me from all of that my entire life. I never had to worry about any of those things because Dad took care of it. You know, if I needed something, if I needed a new knife, if I wanted a new gun, if I wanted a shotgun, Dad took care of it. And now Dad's not here. And all those words that my dad used to say to me about, honey, I need you to protect yourself like Daddy was there, because one of these days Daddy's not going to be there and Dad needs to sleep at night. So I need to know you're doing everything that you can. And it really broke my heart, but also it empowered me, because I was like, if I'm experiencing this, so is other people, so is other women. And what about those women that have never had positive masculinity in their life? What about women that have been abused or ignorant or afraid to speak up, or they don't know who to turn to? I was lucky enough to have that the majority of my life, but I don't now. So I said I can either be part of the solution or part of the problem. And if I'm experiencing this, I need to help those other people that are also. And that kind of just gave birth to the journey that I've been on ever since. The name Boomstick Babe came from my dad.
Really?
Yeah. So my dad's a jokester. We have a very sick sense of humor in my family. We're very candid. And so, you know, my dad would always say, I don't want to see you on this farm without a gun in your hand. I don't want to see it. Like, if you're going to be walking around by yourself, you need to have that shotgun. And my dad called me baby. You know, where's my baby? Where's my baby girl? I'm the youngest. Where's my baby? And so he'd be like, oh, where's my little baby and her boomstick? Where's my little boomstick baby? And it just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah.
And then when I started speaking out against this, a lot of people had conversations with me, and they're like, we see you in the gun shops all the time. We see you training. Why aren't you doing something? Why are you not speaking out more? And I was getting this from so many angles of people in the industry. I was like, well, why am I not? That's a good question. And it was because I was told not to. You know, we live in this society where they tell you that gun culture is, shh.
It's almost taboo.
It's very taboo. Oh, don't talk about it. Don't tell people. But I wasn't raised that way. I grew up on the weekends and holidays and all these places in a small town, outdoors. It wasn't taboo. My grandfather was the fire chief of our entire town. Everybody had guns. So how come now, when I come to Denver and I'm in the city, it's a completely different paradigm shift? So I said, well, let's change it. Let's fix it. So I just started calling myself the Boomstick Babe on the internet. And, you know, back then that was a screen name, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s. It was your screen name, and I never shook it. So, I don't want to, because it's kind of an homage to my father.
I
And
like it.
it's who I am at this point.
It's catchy.
Well, I like it.
In your time as a firearm instructor, are there any misconceptions about firearm use? Okay, so even before, when we were talking about just a little bit right before the cameras were rolling, you say you don't use the word weapon.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on why and how that's kind of, that idea has come to fruition?
I get a lot of pushback on this from the community. But I don't teach the word weapon in my class. And I know the military teaches the word weapon. I know other people teach the word weapon. The reason I don't is because semantics matter. They do. You work for Mountain States Legal Foundation, my attorneys. Absolutely, semantics matter. When you go and you have to sit in front of a jury of your peers, 12 people, and you have to convince them they use this firearm in self-defense with no intent to harm, do you sound like you have intent when you call it weapon, or do you sound like you have intent when you say, I have my gun on me? Because guns are tools of defense. They're not weapons. When I leave the home every day and I strap that gun on my appendix and I holster my firearm and I put my magazine in its sidecar carrier, I'm not carrying a weapon. I'm carrying a tool of defense. I'm carrying a pistol. It's a constitutional right. It's a human right. It's a civil right. I have a right to stay alive. I love myself so much that I prioritize my safety. I make sure that no matter what, by any means necessary, I'm staying alive and I'm getting home tonight and I'm gonna grow old and I'm gonna die in my bed as an old lady in a peaceful manner. And that is my guarantee. And when you teach that mindset to people, I teach a defensive mindset, not an aggressive mindset. I want people to leave the house knowing that you're not putting a gun on your body with intent to harm. You have intent to defend and you have intent to protect. And when we have this ideology of weapon, that's literally the language of the left or the anti-gunners, right? They say assault weapon. It's an assault weapon, military grade assault weapons. What is that? What is that? Because I don't have assault weapons. I have guns. I have pistols. I have handguns. I have rifles. I have shotguns. Those things are normal things. Those things have been part of American culture since the inception of America. Why are we treating it like it's taboo? Because we as a gun culture have allowed it to be treated so taboo that it has become taboo. And that's our fault. And we have to accept that. And if we want to rehumanize gun culture again, we have to really rehumanize gun culture and say, no, I don't have intent to kill anybody. I don't leave the house hoping that I'm going to shoot somebody and kill them. No, I have intent to get home. I have intent to defend and protect. And this is my tool to do so. My mind is the weapon. My voice is a tool. My car is a tool, right? All of these other things are tools. I'm the weapon. And that's the mindset that I want people to understand. Because semantics do matter, right? Yeah. If you're in court, am I easier to defend if you have me saying, hey, yeah, I carry a weapon and I shot that son of a gun? Or no, he was trying to kill me. I had no other choice and I defended my life with my firearm. Much more different connotation and meaning and intent.
Context is everything.
It does, it matters.
It does. And I kind of want to dive in a little bit. You talked about just, how important that is as a firearm instructor. And so for you, are there any misconceptions about firearm use or safety that you commonly see, or whether it be from classes, social media, even everyday news that, and is there one that specifically irks you the most?
Guns are the leading cause of death of children in America. That irritates me every single time I hear it because it is such a mockingbird talking statement that has been force-fed rhetoric through media and through these anti-gun organizations because they're demonizing a constitutional right. And they're making it seem as if we are killing children. I've never hurt a child in my life. I'm a protector of the children. I'm a woman. I was born and created innately with the divine feminine energy to create and protect. There's no way on God's green earth that I would ever harm a child. As a matter of fact, any child in my presence is protected because I'm armed and I'm lethal. And I'm going to make sure nobody is going to touch those innocent children, especially on my watch. And when we hear these talking points that are force-fed, it creates this narrative of fear and of hatred towards youth or children, as if we're doing something purposely to harm kids. And it's a lie. It's an absolute lie, but it's so fabricated and it's so force-fed and it's so repeated that people just say it. They don't even know what they're saying and they say it. And we have to change that. And I do my best to speak out against that because the truth is people are the leading cause of children in the world. I don't understand, and I could get very controversial on that, and I don't want to take it there in this conversation, but we've normalized the death of children, just not in the way people think. And it's not because of guns, it's because of healthcare. It's because of all of these other things that we've called it, right? That's not true. All life should be respected, and that's the whole point of carrying firearms. Is not only is it a civil and human right, it is my healthcare. Because there are people out there that are bigger, stronger, and faster than me, and it prevents them from them imposing their will on me. And it levels the playing field of somebody who is bigger, stronger, and faster than dominating me and forcing themselves on me, either to harm me or to take my life.
Yeah, and I like how you brought up the concept of taboo and rhetoric, and a lot of mainstream media uses both of those to kind of misconstrue what firearms kind of stand for, especially in this country.
Absolutely.
And for someone who's maybe never touched a firearm before, what's the first thing they should understand, not technically, but mentally? You kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, being a weapon, but this also being a tool, or you being the weapon, but the weapon being the tool, not weapon, firearm being the tool. Yeah, so what should people understand, not technically, but mentally, if it's their first time, being around firearms, touching a firearm, even if they're thinking about purchasing a firearm for themselves?
Love yourself so much that you do everything in your power to stay alive. This is self-care. This is the highest form of self-love that there is. Self-defense is self-love. And you are one of one. You are the most valuable, perfect thing God ever created. You are created in the divine light, and the highest of high, and the most high. You are worth protecting, and you are worth defending. And fear is a liar, right? So many people are afraid of guns because of what they've been taught. How are you afraid of something you've never experienced? You don't know anything about it. Learn from somebody who's experienced. Come talk to me. Have a conversation. Because it's been my experience, and it's been, and this is a funny way that I learned it. When I was a kid, right, I'm a kid of the 80s, I watched the movie The Labyrinth. You ever seen the movie The Labyrinth with David Bowie?
No, I have not, actually.
God forbid.
I know. I'm
God
sorry.
forbid.
I should be better.
Well, the story is this girl is in this labyrinth, and she is trying to find her brother. And it's got all these twists and turns. It's a labyrinth, right? And she's going places and going through these twists and turns, and there's caricatures, and there's monsters in the wall, and stone people, and they're like, don't go that way. That way leads to sudden death, right? It's all of this fear. Don't do that. Don't go that way. Don't you just want to sit at home with your dolls in your room where it's safe? But what she needed wasn't in her room where it's safe. She had to venture out. That's life. And what I've noticed is that the more people tell me not to do something or to be afraid of something, it reminds me of the allegory of the cave. And the allegory of the cave is from philosophical times of when the people were in the cave and they were being showed images on the wall of the cave in the dark, and that's all they saw. Until they questioned and they turned around and they looked and they saw that projector that was projecting the images on the wall. So then they questioned, well, what's behind the projector? Well, where's the light coming from? Well, where's this coming from? And they pressed and pressed until they found their way climbing out of the cave. And when they climbed out of the cave, of course, the brightness of the light hurt their eyes at first. But what they realized is there was a whole other world that they'd been missing: sunshine, sunlight, adventure, other people. But they never questioned what they were being shown. That's what I want people to do. Question it. If you feel that you're afraid of something, why are you afraid? Because this is not a tool of fear. This is a tool of empowerment. This is a tool of defense. These tools historically have been designed to make sure you have longevity, that you have the ability to protect and defend your family. It provides you a way to feed your family, to defend your family, right? Why are you not exercising that constitutional right?
We're gonna needlepoint it a little bit, and you already kind of gave us a little bit of an alley-oop as well. But what do you think most people misunderstand about what the Second Amendment actually protects?
The Second Amendment tells you that it is your duty to stand up against tyranny and to make sure that you have the tools to stand up against tyranny. And we are living in the state of tyranny right now. We are living in Tyranny Town, the 5280 Tyranny Town, right? And that is the irony of that, right? That people sit there and say, oh, but guns are so dangerous. Why wouldn't you want mandated training, Alicia? Why don't you want that? You don't think people need to be trained to use things that can kill people? Do you teach kids to look both ways before they cross the street? Do you teach kids not to stick forks in the outlets in your house? Do you teach kids to hold your hand, that the stove is hot, not to run with scissors, to put the seatbelt on when they get in the car? Yeah, there's a misconception out there of what fear is and what we can be taught and what is normal. And I think that's my job right now, and I implore other people like myself to rehumanize that mindset again and hit that reset button, and let's take a real look at this, not from a fear-based skewed narrative, from a real world perspective. Let's take the emotion out of it and let's look at this as a task and see it as that. because the Second Amendment was designed to make sure that you have a way to fight back against those that impose their will on you. That was the whole reason America was founded, right? You would be British.
I would be British.
I'm not really interested in tea and crumpets, you know? So I like my bacon and I like my bullets. So I'm an American chick and I'm gonna stand for the second.
That's the tagline right there.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
Boomstick Babe with
Boomstick
bacon
Babe.
and bullets, baby.
There we go. That's the caption. So we're gonna zoom out a little bit. What are some barriers that citizens encounter when it comes to the Second Amendment that more people should know about? And have you done anything to address any of these barriers in your own work?
Yes, a lot of the barriers are the financial barriers, time constraints, access to equipment. If I have a single mother who is taking care of 3 kids, do you think she really has the time and money to go sit in my class for 8 hours away from her kids? She's gonna have to get childcare. She's gonna have to be able to pay for my class. She's gonna have to pay for the range fee. She has to have a firearm, or she's gonna have to rent one from me and pay for ammunition. Okay? She has to have the transportation to get there. Then she's also gonna have to pay the fees to apply for the concealed handgun permit. Those are socioeconomic and financial barriers for people to exercise a constitutional right, including a 3-day waiting period to obtain a firearm. Okay? So all of these are barriers. And that's the history of gun control, is saying, how can we stop people from exercising the one tool on earth that allows them to say no? Let's give them all these barriers.
Let's talk about the case a little bit. Not too much, but we're gonna just touch on what is the 3-day waiting period, why is it damaging, and what should people know about Ortega versus Grisham.
Oh, I'm not Ortega versus Grisham. So for
Garcia
everybody
versus Paulus.
out there,
But we mentioned like a little bit of the socioeconomic, and I was thinking
Yes.
Ortega versus Grisham.
So Ortega versus Grisham, for everybody out there listening, is the Mountain States legal case in New Mexico that kind of was a result of our preliminary injunction in Colorado being denied. So our attorney said, we're probably not going to get any justice here in Colorado. Of course we didn't, because our preliminary injunction was shut down. So we expected that. We expected, when we discussed suing the state over the 3-day waiting period, that indeed this is probably going to take a long time, and it's probably and hopefully going to go to the Supreme Court so we could win. We could be like, yeah, right? So Mountain States Legal said, let's go to New Mexico, and we have a plaintiff there, and let's sue against their 7-day waiting period. Well, because that is the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. So the state of Colorado has a higher court, the 10th Circuit Court. So they were able, Mountain States Legal, they meaning you, were able to get the 10th Circuit to say, no, waiting periods are unconstitutional. And that happened, I believe, last year in August. And the reason I know it was last year in August is because I was on range in Texas. Shout out to my friend Chad at Sendero and my friend Carrie Dugan in the USCCA, training for my defensive pistol program certification. And I got that call and I was like, yeah, I just passed the hardest pistol qualification of my life. And then we just got word that the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals said absolutely waiting periods are unconstitutional. So I was like, word.
2 wins in a day, can't complain about that.
I'm gonna go have me a steak and some beer after this.
Some bacon and beer.
And I did.
So if someone were to listen to this and walk away changed, what do you hope they change their mind about?
I want them to understand that you don't ask permission to speak. You don't ask permission to exercise your First Amendment right. Why would you want to? Why would you want to censor somebody or hinder somebody? Do you think you need to go to a class for 8 hours and pay an instructor so you can speak freely? Do you think that you should be barred from speaking freely because you can't afford to take a class on English? Do you think you should be barred from exercising that constitutional right because you can't afford it, or because people are afraid of what you say because your words are weapons? So why should we have to do that for the Second Amendment?
I agree. And if you could sit down with somebody who completely disagrees with you on the Second Amendment, no cameras, no audience, what's the first thing you would ask them?
If I had a gun pointed to your face right now, could you look at it and disarm it? or know the condition of that firearm, or if you were able to get control of that firearm, could you disable it so it couldn't be used against you and others? Because that's the truth, right? There's people out there that say, I'm not okay with carrying a gun. I don't want to shoot somebody. I couldn't do that. That's absolutely fine. That's your freedom. That's why we have America, right? Dangerous freedom. You don't have to like my way of life. You don't have to agree with it, but you must honor it, because this is not me, you know, CoverGirl versus Maybelline. This is dangerous freedom. This is not Coke versus Pepsi. This is the right to live, the right to stay alive. So if you don't want to use a gun in defense of somebody, that's fine. But if you were in a situation, because these people obviously think gunfights are happening everywhere, and it's because of people like me, right? That's what they think. If you were able in a violent encounter, could you look at a gun that was being pointed at you and be like, you know what? That loaded chamber indicator isn't popped up. There's no round in that gun. Oh, look, the safety's on that gun. If they press that trigger, it's not going to fire. It's going to buy me time. Or if we were in a struggle, or if I was to get control of that gun, maybe you stumble across a gun that you shouldn't find, right? Could you take that slide off, pop the barrel out, take the recoil spring out, and now you've disabled that firearm from being used? Don't you think that's important knowledge and information to have? Because again, these are tools. These are absolutely tools. If you want to save a life and you don't want somebody to use a gun to hurt themselves, can you look at that gun and disable it? Can you look at it and know how it functions? It's a skill set I believe everybody should understand. And that's one of the things that I have a problem with, is that they're more focused on demonizing the firearm rather than providing education and awareness for it. And when they say, yes, we're going to provide education and awareness, who is that education coming from? Moms Demand Action, Bloomberg, right? People that are anti-gun, because they think they're going to be the ones to teach you gun safety. They're not teaching you gun safety. They're teaching you gun fear.
I agree. And we've talked a lot about maybe not so fun scenarios, but yeah. I kind of want to flip it, and we're going to change up the pace a little bit and go towards some maybe fun scenarios, because we got a lot of the meat and potatoes out, but then we got to bust out the condiments.
I like dessert.
So if
you get shaped like this without liking dessert.
Amen. If you could have a dream range day with 3 celebrities of your choice, who would you go with and why?
Oh, man. I'm going to be real with you.
I'm here.
I don't care about celebrities. I could care less. If I'm going to have something dream day, I want to be with the people I love. I want to be the people that are going to make me better. I want to be with people that are better shooters than me. I want to be on range with Lanny Oakley. I want to be on range with, Lena Michalik.
Be careful. I mean, you only got 3. You only got 3.
One more person I'd want to be on range with, who I think is probably the best pistol marksman in the nation. Man, we got 2 of them. Mm. Could I say John Wick?
Oh, John Wick would be.
Could I say it?
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
John Wick would be awesome.
I mean, I have trained with Taron Butler, who is essentially the real John Wick, who trains all the Hollywood stars how to shoot. He's a good buddy. I've shot on range with him, and I learned a lot. But in a lesson perspective, to make my skill set better, those are the people that I would want to learn from and train with. As an educator, I always want to remain a student. I always want to remain a student. I always want to polish my skill set. I always want to be challenged to be better. It's the fool that thinks they can't be taught anything more, right? It's the wise man who knows they know nothing. So for me, enrich me, man. Pour into me, make me better, tighten my skill set up. But honestly, I would rather, every year for Memorial Day weekend, I go to Georgia to train at an event called Train and Learn that I am the director of administration for my friend Kevin Dixie. He runs an organization called No Other Choice, and he also has a nonprofit called Aiming for the Truth. And the first time I met Kevin many, many years ago, he just dug himself into my heart, and he has never left. He's probably one of the most inspirational and brilliant men. And it happens Memorial Day weekend, so it's right after the legislative session here in Colorado, where I'm exhausted, I'm disgusted, I'm sick of these people, and all I want to do is bust some caps. That's all I want to do.
Okay.
And I get to go to Georgia and be outside with my favorite people, my closest friends, who run guns better than me, and we bust caps outdoors for days. And honestly, that's where I want to be. I want to be on range with my friends. I want to be on range with patriots. I could care less about celebrity. Those people don't matter to me.
Let's take it back to the beginning a little bit. Even younger Alicia. So say...
We bust out my headband and my buck teeth?
Yeah, we can. Even the scrunchies, all of it. We can dive into it.
I was not that cool.
Oh, you didn't have a scrunchie?
I do now.
Oh, okay,
I do now.
There we go. If we were to take somebody to get their first firearm, what are some things that they should keep in mind, whether it's feel, whether it's weight, whether it's carry? What are some things you should look out for that are absolutely essential, even now when you're buying a firearm?
I'd rather show you.
We will get into
can
that.
talk about it.
Yes.
First of all, we don't buy guns, we don't shoot. If you've never shot that gun, you ain't buying that gun. That's foolishness. Shoot that gun. What we're looking for in a firearm is, why are we buying this gun? What's the purpose of this gun? Is this a gun that it's our everyday carry, it's gonna be our EDC, means it's gonna be my buddy. Everywhere I go, you're gonna go. I'm gonna go check the mail, you're going. I'm gonna go to 7-Eleven, you're going. Is this that gun? Or is this a pistol because you want a home defense gun? Or is this a gun that you want to go hunting with? What's your purpose of the gun? And once we understand that, then we can understand, what are your constraints as a human being? Do you have handicaps? Are you left eye dominant, right hand shooter? Do you have any physical limitations, right? And also, what's your mindset? I think all of these things need to be addressed first, because I want people to have the defensive mindset. Remember, the gun is plan Z. It's the no other choice option, which means, are you understanding that you should not have an ego anymore? No ego belongs behind a trigger, because there's people that are going to tick you off every day, all day long. There's people that can't drive. There's people that are going to be insulting. There's people that are going to be rude. There's people that are going to test you. Do you have the fortitude to be like, cool, peace out, and I'm going to de-escalate and I'm going to get out of here? Because if you don't have that, let's talk about that before we talk about getting you a gun. Secondly, if this is for an everyday carry, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do with this gun? Or do you have the mindset that you might have to come out of concealment, clear garments, move, and get in a firefight with somebody who wants you dead? Okay, what if that person is somebody you love? What if it's a family member? What if it's a 12-year-old child that's here from another country, that's a gang member, that they don't care about you? They have a better gun than you, because bad guys train. Now that we understand that, what's your willingness to do? Okay, let's look to see how this gun fits you, because I want you to be confident with your gun. You have to love this gun. I would rather you have one gun that you absolutely love and you're going to take it everywhere than 10 amazing guns you don't train with. Because what's the purpose of that, right? I want that gun so exciting for you, and you love that gun so much that you are going to take it with you and you're going to keep it on your body, and you can control that gun one-handed, meaning you can drop the slide, you can drop the magazine, and you can touch the trigger and be in control of that firearm one-handed, and it's not a problem for you. I'm not saying that people have that skill set right now, but you should have the capability to have that skill set with the firearm that you're choosing, because violence doesn't wait. Violence is urgent. It's the most urgent thing you're ever going to need is a gun. How distant is that person that's going to try to harm you, right? Because I might have to shoot from here. I might not have the time to establish that two-handed grip. So do you have the understanding of what it means to be able to shoot that gun one-handed, get on target? Do you understand your body's natural point of aim? And then we start looking at the actual gun itself. Mag capacity. I want more ammo than I want a bigger caliber, depending on my fight, right? Instead of having a gun that's a 45, give me a 9mm and give me as much ammo as possible. I'll take more ammo every day, right? Where are you going to carry it? Do you want an external safety? Do you not want an external safety? Do you want it hammer fired? Do you want striker fired? Can you rack that slide? Do you have the hand strength to rack that slide? Do you want a red dot? Do you have eye problems? Okay, all of those things people should consider. And that's one of the things that I do my best to educate people on in my class, is that husband doesn't mean firearms instructor. My uncle's a former cop. Doesn't mean he's a firearms instructor. Well, my brother was in the military. Doesn't mean he's a firearms instructor. Love yourself enough to embrace the suck. Know that this is something you don't know anything about. seek out the professionals that know these things and that are going to give you the proper experience and make this something you look forward to doing, rather than going to the range with your ex-boyfriend who's shooting a .357 snub-nose revolver. It terrifies you, and you're never going to want to shoot that gun again, or any guns, because now you're traumatized, right? Give the gun the experience it deserves. Get an educator that's built to do this and teach you properly, so that way you have a proper positive experience and you enjoy it and you understand what it's meant to be done, because safety is important as well.
Wow, I couldn't even give it a better answer with 3 days and.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep all that in mind.
I'm gonna show you. We're gonna do it.
We're gonna learn very soon. Don't you worry. We'll get that content as well. But we are unfortunately nearing the end of our episode.
Darn.
However, before we go, we're gonna do a quick rapid fire round of questions to end things off. Would you be down? Yeah.
Yeah. I got what you did there.
Yeah. Are you down?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Everyday carry or range toy?
Both. You can have the same thing in one.
All right. Coffee or energy drinks before the range?
Coffee.
One firearm everyone should shoot at least once.
Ooh. Dang. Ooh, that's tough. One firearm everybody should shoot at least once. Man, that's a tough one.
I know, there's a lot.
That's handcuffing me here,
sorry,
buddy.
I'm sorry. Pick your favorite child.
That's why I don't have kids. I have dogs, right? Oh, one gun everybody should shoot at least once. Man. I would say an AR-15. I would say America's rifle. You know, it's such a taboo thing. If everybody shot it at least once, I think it would change their mind.
You'd have a little more fun.
I think they'd respect it a little bit more and realize that it's not the demon that it's made out to be.
Most overrated gun debate topic?
1911 versus,
Anything else?
striker fired.
Yeah.
Like, I won 2 world wars. Who cares? It's what are you best at?
And then one myth about gun owners you'd delete forever.
That we are all these hateful, right-wing extremists, bigots. The Second Amendment's for everybody, right? Like I said, it's a civil right. Everybody should understand that this right has no political affiliation. It's a human right. So that's what I would want people to understand, is that we're not bloodthirsty killers. We're protectors, and we love life, because the truth is this, honestly. If gun owners were the problem, if it's the guns, right? There's 500 million privately owned firearms in America. 500 million. If we were the problem, you'd know it. What's stopping us from waking up in the morning and just murking everybody that disagrees with us? You know what? Decency, humanity, peacefulness. We're godly people. We're good people. We're not doing these things. Okay, it's bad people that are doing these things. So we're actually really, really awesome human beings. Buy your local gun owner a beer and a burger and have a conversation.
I agree, and I couldn't have put it any better. And
Yeah.
I believe you're an awesome gun owner. You're an awesome plaintiff. You're an awesome interviewee and an awesome human, and I appreciate.
I really appreciate this. And shout out to the Damage Factory here. That's where we're at. We're on range here.
Major.
They shut down their range. They made it a cold range for us to be here today. That way we can have a real experience. So thank you to them.
Yes,
I appreciate
thank you
it.
to the Damage Factory, and we can't say it enough.
May I introduce where they can find me?
Oh, yes. Sorry. One last thing. Alicia, tell us what you're up to, what you're doing, and how people can find you.
They can go to my website, armedcolorado.com. They can go to all the social medias and just search for the Boomstick Babe. You'll find me. You can go to my class, concealcarryclassdenver.com, and you can just Google me, Alicia Garcia, Colorado Guns. I'm notorious. You'll find me. I'm the notorious ARG, baby.
And if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe and follow Beyond the Bench wherever you get your podcasts, and visit mslegal.org to learn more about how you can stand with us in defending the Constitution. My name is Noah Diasicow, joined by Alicia Garcia, and we will see you next time to go Beyond the Bench.